What's up, boys and girls? How are you? It's a Tuesday. Welcome in to another episode of the Bostonian versus the Book. I am Matt Perrault. We are live on YouTube and on X, replayed on Sports Grid Television, and wherever you guys get your audio podcasts. Guest today will be Kasey Hudson from NESN. Are you ready for hockey? We've got opening night tonight. So I thought, let's go talk some puck with Kasey about what's happening in Boston, what's going to happen down in Florida. She covered all the hockey teams down in Florida. Panthers will raise the banner tonight. We'll get going with that. Can it be a three-peat for Florida, even with all those injuries they have suffered here in the preseason? Connor McDavid re-signs yesterday with the Edmonton Oilers, so he's not going anywhere for a couple of years with Edmonton and the Vegas Golden Knights. A lot of hype here in the desert for Vegas. How good will the Golden Knights be as they try to win their second ever career Stanley Cup? Before we talk to Kasey and before we do the opening line on the Major League Baseball playoffs, a quick look back on yesterday and what happened yesterday as we laid Dave to rest. And look, there's no way for me to express the gratitude and the emotions of yesterday through words. I can't do that. I can only try to paint a quick picture. For those of you in the chat, guys like SoCal DGen, guys like Mikey Awesome, and T, and others, Blue Spader, who have been part of this program since its inception, who came to Vegas to come to the funeral yesterday and to the wake, my sincere thanks. I have an immense amount of pride about my daughter and what she was able to do over the last 3 days on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And I gave her options every step of the way to not be a part of everything happening. And she's 11. So I said, look, if this is too much for you, we don't need to do this. And she was 100% going, no, I want to do this. I want to be there. And as a father, and I don't want to get emotional today, but watching my daughter place her hand on Dave's casket before it was lowered into the ground and watching her say goodbye to Dave was and is something that I will remember for the rest of my life. And in that moment, I knew I had made the right decision to bring her and to allow her to grieve in her own way. Watching her interact with Dave's daughters, brought me a ton of comfort because our daughters and Dave and I talking about being girl dads was it might have been the first thing that really got us together as friends, was talking about being girl dads. And Kylie, Kelsey, and Kendall, the strength that they showed yesterday, the speeches that the daughters, the two oldest, Kylie and Kelsey, gave about their dad. I cried the entire time. I don't think there was a dry eye in the entire house listening to both of them speak about their father. It was great to meet people that I had heard of. I had talked to Dave about for so long, people who had nicknames and, Smoke, who Dave has talked about, his brother-in-law, all these different conversations that we had on air and off air. To meet them in person was really special. And I didn't take pictures. Obviously, we're not taking something to remember, but Russ Axelrod did post this, and this is a pretty good representation of the entire group of people. This is all of us waiting outside for Dave's casket to come out to be loaded into the hearse to be taken over to where he ultimately was buried. And just the number of jerseys and the number of people. I was standing kind of in the right-hand corner. You can't really see me, but I was standing next to Neil Everett, who walked up to me and said, "Matt, hi." And I said, "Neil, my gosh, hi." And spent some time talking to him. And, the people that were there, some really big name people were there. I'll let them remain nameless, but I just want to put that picture up to give you guys an idea of just how many people came. It was the largest funeral I've ever been to. No shock there, obviously, with Dave and the number of people who loved him, the number of people who wanted to show their respects, the people in the sports gambling community, people from South Point and Circa, people from all over different walks, people that flew in. Robbie from Bet Rivers flew in for it. G2E happens to be this week here in Vegas. So guys like Matt Robotowski, who was in town for G2E, they were able to come on over and be a part of it and stop on by. So it was It was moving. It was emotional. If you are on our Discord channel, you can watch the 1 hour service on from Monday from yesterday. You just have to go to our Discord channel. The easiest way to get there is just to go to thebvbshow.com. Just go ahead and click on that. There's a link to our Discord channel right on the front page. And if you go to the Brigade chat, that's where most people hang out and most people talk on our Discord channel. If you go there, you will see a link to the Palm Mortuary's website that has the live stream, the video of what happened yesterday here in Vegas, and you can watch it. So it's free. Everyone's welcome to go and watch it. I'm not going to play it here on the show. Obviously, it's just not appropriate to do that. But if you are interested to watch it, I would recommend it. Moses the Barber's speech was incredible. He came up there and he was nervous, and I mean, spending time with him and listening to him tell stories. That's a guy who will be on the show if we can figure out. He is a technophobe. He has no idea how to do anything. But if we can figure out how to get Moses the Barber to get in front of a computer screen and just get someone to set him up, he is an unbelievable talent, unbelievable storyteller. And he had the whole place busting up. And the guy who was the quote MC of the event said he's a grief counselor. He is somebody who obviously is involved in people's grief and how they deal with life after they lose a loved one. And he said that the combination of laughter and crying and it was very cathartic for the room. He felt like it was a very good place because we were celebrating Dave as much as we were mourning Dave. We were celebrating his life. And I took a lot of comfort in that. The number of jerseys was, and yes, I wore a jersey. I even busted out a Boston Bruins hockey jersey. So I was wearing a jersey too yesterday. And a lot of media personalities came out and were a part of, the conversation. Doug Kazarian was there. It was great to see him and spent some time talking with him after the service. And my daughter, it was hysterical. My daughter was really tired. She had a long 3 days. And so we spent 3 hours at the wake on Saturday. We spent 2 hours at the wake or the visitation, as they called it, on Sunday. And then we got there at 9:30 to the funeral. And then we were there all the way until about 1 o'clock when we ended up leaving and trying to walk out. I guess it was probably 1:30 when we left lunch. About 1:30 we left lunch. Trying to get out of the Omelet Cafe. And by the way, Iggy, you are a saint. Iggy closed the Omelet Cafe. Remember hearing Dave talk about the Omelet Cafe here in Vegas? Iggy closed it to the public. He just said, nope, 12 o'clock, the Sherapan, you guys are all taking it over. So we took over his entire restaurant. Amazing. So he gave his staff was all there. The cook staff was all there. It was just us. It was just for us at lunch after the funeral. So that was an amazing moment. But trying to get out of there, I was stopped by so many people that wanted to talk before I left, and they wanted to have a conversation. And I said to Madeline, now you know how I felt trying to walk out of a casino with Dave. Like that's what that was like, trying to walk out because everyone stopped me and wanted to have conversations about Dave and about what was happening. Two more quick things before we get into the opening line. The hats. I mean, this is so many people yesterday came at me and said, okay, we have to figure this out now. We need hats. You have to get us hats. So that's on my priority list for today. Okay. Travis Williams, who is the president of the Pirates, was there yesterday. And he had a personalized Consig Pittsburgh Pirates jersey on. And he said to me, Matt, I'm probably coming back here in November because we have a Cy Young award that I'm assuming we're going to pick up. Yes, Paul Skeens is winning the Cy Young. And he said, how can I get hats for my boys? My boys want Dave Sherapan. They want BVB hats. And I said, okay, look, this needs to be rectified because so many people now want to have this. They either want it. I have media people asking me for hats to go behind them on their mantles when they're on media. I got the president of the Pirates who's asking me for hats. So I have to figure this out this week. It is on a high priority list for me to figure out what to do with the hats. So stay tuned on that. And then lastly, we were on our Discord channel last night doing a Monday Night Football watch along, and we had about 35 people that were in there. And I thought that was pretty cool to have people kind of hang out. And I think we're going to do more of that, where it's just shooting the breeze and just us kind of hanging out and watching games. So when there's a big standalone game, I'm going to try to do more of that to try to keep alive what Dave was able to bring to this show. I'm not going to be Dave. Okay. Somebody wrote to us on Twitter yesterday, why is this show still on the air? And I said, okay, I go, that's a legitimate question. Okay. That's a legitimate, and people have said to me publicly and privately, the show's a lot different. Yes, the show's a lot different. I can't do anything about that. I can't. I wish I could. If I could have that power, we would never have had this summer that we had. We would never be sitting here if I had that power, but I don't. Okay. So I asked you guys numerous times, and I don't want to stop doing the show. But if no one wants to watch and nobody wants to be a part of the community and no one wants to do the show, who wants to be here without an audience, I'm just talking into the breeze, and then there'll be no sponsors who come on in, and then I can't afford to do that. I can't commit the hours. So that's how the show goes away. If you guys in the audience turn it off and these sponsors go away, then the show will go away. But up to this point, that has not happened. We've had multiple sponsors step forward, multiple sponsors wanting to be a part of the program. I've had numerous conversations publicly and privately with you guys in the brigade about the show and about how this show cannot stop. Because if it stops, then you have nowhere to talk about Dave. And this is a big part of what you want to have happen in media. So that's my fuel. That's where I am at. And that's where the future of the show is going to go. But the Discord chat is a way of sort of taking down, and we don't do Roll Call Friday anymore, but it does give us a chance to have a Roll Call Friday-like conversation. So if you aren't on Discord, go to our website, click the link. You can download the app, or you can go to it on desktop, and we'll do more of that. Because last night I thought that was pretty fun to kind of just hang out and chat and watch games. So I was watching baseball, watching football and baseball at the same time. We were doing like a play-by-play type thing. Like as I was talking, I was giving you guys thoughts on the game as it was going on. So it was a unique night last night on our Discord channel. So I hope that we can do that and do more of that personally. So I hope we do more of that live and jump on in. So that would be fun. So I appreciate you, Mikey. Thank you. Nice of you to say that. And I have no plans on stopping the show. So as of right now, there are no plans to stop the show. And I keep on, full plans to keep on rolling. So Kasey Hudson will be here in about 5 minutes. So let's talk some baseball, because boy, oh boy, what Chicago and Philadelphia fans are talking about today. Managers. People always say that managers don't matter in Major League Baseball until they do. As a Red Sox fan, I remember what it used to be like to scream at my TV set about the manager, about Grady Little leaving Pedro Martinez in the game for too long, about whatever was happening with the Red Sox in terms of their pitching staff or their, who's playing what position, what to do with what play, right? Then the Red Sox got good. Alex Cora has been a relatively good manager. He's won a championship, for goodness sakes, for the Red Sox. So I haven't had much of the manager angst that other fan bases have had. And boy, are we talking about managers right now involving the National League playoffs, because the Phillies are down 2-0 to the Dodgers, and they got to go back to LA with little hope of getting back to Philadelphia. I mean, it's pretty much over. They win the game 4-3 last night. The LA Dodgers do. They score 4 runs in 1 inning, and that was enough to win the game. But the Phillies had a shot last night. They had a shot. They had 2 on. They had nobody out. They had a chance. They're down 4-0. They had a chance for a big inning. They scored 1 run in the 8th, rather. So it was 4-1 rather in the 8th. But they had 2 on and nobody out in a 4-1 baseball game. It ends up being a 4-3 loss for Philadelphia. And the Phillies and their fans are going through all sorts of emotion about their manager. It started in game 1 where there was a lot of talk about what happened with the starting pitcher for Rob Thompson. Did he leave Christopher Sanchez in the game for too long? Should they have started somebody else in that game? Could Ranger Suarez have started game number 1, who has not pitched yet, by the way, in this series? Did they pull and put a lefty into a tough spot against a really good left-handed hitting baseball team in the Dodgers? This was the first questions around Rob Thompson. And Ron Thompson was, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why did you pull Sanchez? And it was okay because the game got away from the Phillies in game 1. So it's like, all right, you just have to win game 2. You lose game 1, you have to win game 2. Well, in game 2, Bryson Stott is asked to bunt. He's asked to bunt to move the runners along. But it was a 4-3 game after Castellanos had a little flare single to left, scoring 2. Great piece of hitting. Amazing piece of hitting. To bunt a guy to third base with nobody out, to give up on what was going to happen for the inning, to have a big inning, to win the game in the bottom of the ninth, let alone tie the game, to win the game in the bottom of the ninth. Bryson Stott bunts the ball down the third base line. This is not where you bunt. The bunt should have gone down the first base line. The wheel play was on, and after the game, Rob Thompson said that they disguised the wheel play because once you see a wheel play, meaning the rotation happening where you see the shortstop run to third base to get there to tag the runner out, if you see that play on, you're supposed to pull the bunt back and slash. But Mookie waited so long that Bryson Stott didn't have time to do that. But the question is, why was Bryson Stott bunting to begin with? Well, why was he doing that? It didn't make any sense. It made 0 sense to bunt. That's where people were like, wait, why did you bunt? I don't mind bunting in that spot. I don't like it, but I don't mind it. If you do it down the first base line to guarantee the first baseman has to make the play. First baseman then has to fire it to the third baseman or the shortstop. It's a much longer throw. The other question would be, why didn't you pinch run for a guy who is pretty slow? Castellanos is a slow runner. He was out by like 5 feet. It was pretty bad. Pretty bad. So that has all the fans ripping mad in Philadelphia. And then he decides to make the announcement after game 2 about who's going to pitch in game 3. And the pitching change in game 3 is shocking people for the Philadelphia Phillies. Because again, Ranger Suarez is not pitching. It's not Ranger Suarez who's going to go out here for Philadelphia with this season on the line. And a lot of folks in Philadelphia are wondering, okay, wait a minute. I know it's been a good run, but are we going to have to make a decision here about Rob Thompson, and we're going to have to make a change? Because Aaron Nola has been bad this year. I mean, bad. 5-10 with a 6.01 ERA. On the road, Aaron Nola has a 7 ERA. A 7. And your year's on the line. And the reason he's giving is, well, Nola hasn't come out of the bullpen before. Ranger Suarez has. So we're going to throw Nola first, and then we're going to go to Ranger Suarez. It could be 5-0 by the time you get to Ranger Suarez, though. Like, well, what are you going to do with that? Screws up the whole bullpen. I mean, how many outs are you trying to get? So game 3, not looking good here for the Philadelphia Phillies. On the other side, last night, it wasn't just Philadelphia Philly fans who were angry and screaming mad about what happened. The Cubs are down 2-0 and going back to Wrigley with little hopes of going back to Milwaukee, because in game 1, Craig Counsell decided to throw Matthew Boyd on 3 days rest. The result was 6 runs in the first inning. Craig Counsell decided, after he got completely torched by every fan and every media member about the Matthew Boyd decision, got just completely destroyed for it, rightfully so, decided to turn around and throw another lefty in game 2 in Imanaga, who gave up a 3-run home run in the bottom of the first inning after his team had got up 3-0 in the top of the first inning. And then the rout was on, and a 7-3 win is the result, and the Brewers are up 2-0. After the loss, Craig Counsell was asked about it and the decision to start Imanaga, and he said, you're not going to win playoff games giving up 2 3-run home runs. That was just too much to overcome. Who's responsible for that, by the way? Because if you are looking at the numbers, and look, I'm a gambler, so I have made more money on the Brewers than any other team for the entire season. It's been all about the Brewers. Counsell threw a lefty in game 1 on 3 days rest and threw a lefty in game 2 against a lineup that is number 1 in average against lefties, number 2 in hits against lefties, and number 5 in RBIs against lefties. And the result was 6 runs in the first inning off Matthew Boyd and a 3-run home run off Imanaga. And it got worse. He gave up 4 earned runs in a 7-3 loss in game number 2. Don't tell me that managers don't matter. Don't tell me that coaches do not matter, because in the postseason, it really, really matters. And right now, the Phillies and the Cubs are both facing elimination because their managers are making ridiculous decisions. And fan bases have the right to criticize and be furious. I don't know if Cub fan want Craig Counsell fired yet, but they're calling him a double agent. Like, Cub fans believe that Craig Counsell, because he was the former coach of the Brewers, that he actually wants the Cubs to lose, that he is doing this to put Milwaukee into the National League Championship Series against the Dodgers. I mean, that is amazing. That is amazing. And yes, Pitbull, Cub fans are stumped. They don't know what they're doing. I get it. I completely get it. I don't know if Counsell knows what he's doing, to be completely honest. But at Wrigley, it sure feels like it's going to be the Brewers and the Dodgers playing in the National League Championship Series. And the managers for the teams that will lose will have a lot of questions to be answered coming up during the offseason. Well, I got questions about hockey. We got hockey up here tonight. Welcome back, Puck. 3 games, including the dropping of the banner on the back-to-back champs, the Florida Panthers. They have the Blackhawks. That's why I'm wearing the Blackhawks hat. And when we talk hockey, we have to go and talk to Kasey Hudson from NESN, joining us here on the Bostonian versus the Book. Kasey, how are you? Great to see you. Thank you for coming on the program today.
Matt, it's so great to see you. Things are good. It's too hot in Boston. Who thought I would say that? But at least it's finally hockey season. So finally.
Did you just say it's too hot in October in Boston?
I did. Things have happened. A lot has changed in the 9 months that I have been here. I complain about weather, and I'm drinking iced coffee, for real.
You become a Bostonian. Welcome to the dark side. How are you?
It is dark over here.
What's the Dunkin' order? Did you have one?
It's not Dunkin'.
Oh,
it's
no.
Latte that has ruined my life.
Okay. Well, it's iced coffee, but are you living in the South End? What's going on? Are you?
I'm not. I'm not a Southie. I am Watertown, Waltham. I think I said it correctly. Yeah.
So you're close to NESN. You're close to work.
I gotta be. If you guys see, I'm constantly running back and forth, loaded up on the shows on certain days, and I wouldn't make it if I wasn't like 12 minutes away.
So for you, opening night tonight, is this like Christmas Day? Like what's this like for you to have hockey back?
Oh my gosh, it's everything, because I finally just get to fully throw myself into what I prefer to talk about 90% of the time. And it's not even just from a work perspective. Like, my best friend that I grew up with, 23 years of friendship, like this is our like shooting the shit. Like, this is what we talk about. So now I finally get to fully be in it. And I finally got a chance to do my first hockey fantasy league. We had our draft last night. So I'm extra invested this year.
Hockey fantasy. So Do you draft, how many goalies do you draft?
I think we have 2 or 3 goals. We have 3 goalies. I have 3
goalies. Okay. Yeah. I like it. I've
got Bennington, Lindgren, and Dostal.
Okay. I like that. That's different. I've never actually played fantasy hockey. That might be something I need to throw on. That's kind of a neat little twist to pay attention, because I have a hard time paying attention to like 4th and 5th, like 3rd and 4th lines. I have a hard time keeping track. Like, I got the top 2 lines on most teams, but like when we start digging down deep, and maybe fantasy would keep my interest on like the 4th line center for some team that I don't care about.
It would. And 3rd and 4th line is all the hype right now. It's won championships over the last 3 Stanley Cup finals, in my personal opinion, and a lot of others. So it does, though. You'd have to constantly stay on top of it. Shout out to my Ferrari friends and all the people that keep up with me with the F1 too, by the way.
Oh, there we go. You're an F1 person. No, you're not. Do you go to the F1 arcade in the South End? Speaking of Southie?
Didn't know. I haven't been to South End really. I
Oh,
think
yeah, there's F1
I've
arcade
driven
now in
through. I've
Boston.
been to North End more than anything, but like, of course, Boston won my heart through my stomach, and that's because in a past life I was an Italian, and I've been there all too often eating all the food, and that's the most Bostonian thing that I've done thus far.
Well, that's a good thing to do. It's what we're known for. To go ahead and eat. All right. So, as being the Bostonian here and the Bruins fan, let's start with Boston because the numbers are disgusting. I don't remember seeing the Boston Bruins being this far down on a chart list to win the Stanley Cup. I mean, there is no hype. There is no buzz. I mean, they're down around the Flyers. They're down around the Sharks and the Blackhawks. Like, this is an unbelievable stat to look at because the Bruins obviously are lacking a lot of talent. They still have Pasternak. They still have McAvoy. They still have Jeremy Swayman. I bet over 79.5 points last night, Kasey. I just can't get my brain around the idea that the Boston Bruins are going to be as bad as they were last year, and they sucked last year, and they still had 76 points on the season. Where are you on the Bruins for this coming season?
I am right there with you. I think last season was the floor. And I know so many fans don't want to hear that, but the reality to it is, and I've said this 100 times on NESN, like there was so many games that you watched that this team just completely disappeared in third periods, and teams either got back in it, had these major comebacks, took away leads, just all the things that can go bad in a third period. That was kind of a DNA, especially towards the second half of the season for this Bruins team. And then the other part of it was obviously goaltending. You can't look away from that. And I'm not defending what happened between the pipes between, Swayman and Korpisalo, but the other realistic approach here that we're not talking enough about is when your defensive pieces, when your defensive pairings are changing constantly. Hampus Lindholm goes down. McAvoy goes down. You've got Lorei having the most time on ice that he's ever had at the professional level, which is a lot. That weight on your legs is insane to adjust to while trying to be an offensive defenseman. All that movement in front of a goaltender is very hard. I'll never forget a conversation I had with Braden Coburn back in Tampa Bay, and he's like, look, when your pieces change in front of your goaltending, the conversation changes. You're trying to cut this conversation to be that much quicker, but you don't know how bad it's translating between the goaltender and the defenseman. People are out of position. Too many pucks are getting past your deep pairings. So there was just a lot of mess. Those small cleanups, health being on this team's side, I think that's going to get you a handful more wins, hands down. So I don't think it could be as bad as last year.
I'm with you. The only worry I've got, and I know people don't care about the Bruins, but I do. What do you make of the rumor mills flying around? Because when the team decided to move off of the little ball of hate late in the year last year, and they sent him to the Stanley Cup champs, which didn't sit well with people either, because the fact that you don't think you're going to help one of your rivals, and you did, and he played incredibly in the Stanley Cup finals. What about McAvoy, and what about Pasternak potentially being traded? Do you see it happening?
No, I feel like while they're trying to solidify an identity, these are the two top names when it comes to who's going to be the next face / captain of the Bruins. And I don't know how open, even though Marco Sturm has said he needs to get to know the guys individually to see what's going to take place with the captaincy, right? But it would kind of be a little far stretch to think that like a new face is going to all of a sudden wear the C on an original 16 that's trying to reestablish some of their, best identity with some of where the league is now going. So I feel like these guys stick around. They understand what's expected of them coming up here. McAvoy especially. I mean, there's much more that this team is requiring out of him, not only on the power play, but when it comes to leadership and being the defenseman that he was expected to be. So now with health and everything being on his side, he's got a lot that he needs to be able to prove. I don't see them being moved. If anything, you see them maybe packaging two guys out of the top 6, but that still depends on what takes place over the course of the next 60 days.
Jeremy Swayman, just play Jeremy Swayman. Like, if he plays the way he's capable of playing, they're a 500 hockey team at worst, and we'll go over 79.5 points. Kasey, the big news yesterday was the re-signing of Connor McDavid with the Edmonton Oilers. They are one of the odds-on favorite, as they are nearly every year now, to win the Stanley Cup. It's been 1993 since the last time a Canadian team won the Cup. But how big of a story is this to you before the year starts to get McDavid inked to a 2-year extension?
Yeah, actually, it was pretty interesting for one, because you would think that a guy like McDavid would be coming in a little north of 12.5 per year. And then you're looking at the term on this just being 2 years also. So you're seeing kind of like a prove it on both sides. The Oilers wanting to see if he can continue to tip the scales to get this team into another Stanley Cup final and win it. But then on the other end, he needs the help, and a lot of that starts with goaltending and what takes place on their back end. Their back end being more consistent. There was so much ebb and flow on whether this defensive pairings were really bad or actually really good. You just had to pay closer attention to it. So I feel like the 2 years tells you a lot, but I thought that more money was going to be coming in. So considering the fact that he went at it for 12.5, they've got to give him everything possible over these next 2 years to make sure that they can do a better run for the postseason.
Yeah, it feels like that. And I was talking about it last week about, okay, we're going to find out where the motives are for Connor McDavid, because 17 million, that's now the ceiling. And you saw what the Wild did. And so you thought, okay, if they give him $17 million, they have no money for anybody else. He's going to break the bank. So does he want to be the highest paid player in hockey, or does he want to win the Stanley Cup? I thought the number that he took is pretty telling for where McDavid is. He wants to win in Edmonton.
The cup.
Yeah, he's going to give Edmonton every shot, right? Say, hey, guys, I'm going to give you every shot. But if you don't do it in these 2 years, I got to go somewhere to win the cup, right?
Yep. And that's exactly what I think. He's putting the time clock on it and not overcommitting himself to be the face of the Oilers for the next 4, 5, 6 years. And I was talking with somebody at NESN about it. Like, it was surprising to not go for those further years. But I think it's just one of those things to where he understands his age, his skill set, and where his peak is going to lie. And if it ends up being I have to go take my talent somewhere, we at least know it's going to be within the proximity of like him still being his best self. So I think 2 years is just enough. Some good additions, honestly. I mean, you got Mangiapane from Washington that's now a part of the Oilers. I think that Trent Frederick is looking for a little bit more redemption after being traded from the Boston Bruins and kind of find his level of play. He's projected to be a top 6 guy over there also, which I find kind of interesting. And then you just really have like those hard-nosed players on that team. So if they can figure out a few other things, I mean, they're looking at being a team that can contend yet again, but it's getting over the scales and hopefully being able to overcome like these East teams, the Florida Panthers, that have been in their way.
We'll get to the games tonight with the Panthers and the Rangers in a second, but I want to stay out west and stay here in Vegas for a second, because Mitch Marner coming over to play on a line with Jack Eichel has got this market pretty well excited at the moment. There's a shot that Kasey, that Carter Hart could be the backup goaltender to Aiden Hill, and if that ends up happening, that will solidify the backup goalie position for the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm pretty bullish on Vegas. I got to be honest. I bet them last night to win the Pacific at plus 165. I think it's really a 3-team race, but I like Vegas a lot. What do you make of the Mitch Marner move for him getting out of Toronto, away from that, in his own words, the pressure cooker of Toronto? He has a young family. He didn't want to be a part of it anymore. He wanted to go to a place where he could win, but not be under a microscope. What do you make of that move for Vegas?
I think that we've seen time and time again that when an NHL player finds freedom, not only like in his environment, in his community, it translates into his game. And I know that there's so much mockery in terms of like Mitch Marner being a whiny guy, but like people's reaction to pressure is going to be different. Some are going to be quiet, and then some are going to come off whiny. But the reality is the pressure that comes out of the Toronto market is quite insufferable. So to be able to talk about Mitch Marner without having the whole postseason cloud over his head, his numbers, his capability, his skill set all truly speak for itself. And in all reality, in this previous postseason, he may have not been scoring all the goals, but he was setting up crucial plays to try to keep them in any sort of avenue of opportunity outside of Matthew Nice, who I think is tremendous. But I really think that you're going to be able to see him in a different light in Vegas. And I feel like he's going to go back to having fun. And when you have a guy who's this skilled, who can have fun and love hockey again and not feel like he's going to have death threats at his door for every bad game, it can be scary, and Jack Eichel is one of those guys too that just kind of has a chip on his shoulder, right? Dismissed until he got with the Misfits. And finally, you look at him as the pivotal center that he is known to be and the strongest two-way player in the NHL. I just think he's going to be surrounded around guys that are going to make him love hockey so much. And I feel like the Vegas Golden Knights had a bad taste in their mouth with how things went. Injuries kind of fractured them up a little bit. They started to rely on some young guys. They tried to pull in some plug and play players. Now I feel like they really have that identity, and they still have some of the best centers. They have one of the best leaders in Mark Stone. And then Aiden Hill just has to be sharper this year. And you're talking about a team that's going to be really annoying.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm looking forward to watching some hockey here in Vegas. Let's switch to the East. Is it too much to overcome for Florida with the injuries to Barkov and company? We'll see them tonight. Drop the banner. Blackhawks are in town tonight to the first game of the year. Obviously, all eyes will be on Florida tonight. But what do you make of the Panthers going forward, and how big are the injuries in your mind?
I think the injuries are huge, but let's not forget, I think it was the beginning of last year, there was an injury to Barkov that took him out for a couple of games, and you saw this team rally around him because his presence is a motivator on its own for the Florida Panthers. And that's what you want out of your captain. So yeah, it's crucial to not have him in the mix, but we've seen this team rally without him before, for one. For two, you have someone that was just a captain of an original 6 team that you're now going to get more than a sample size of. You're going to get a full season from a Brad Marchand. And considering the point production that he had in the postseason, considering that you can plug him in anywhere to be a factor, to be a producer, that's going to kind of give life to this team, even without having a Barkov on the ice or a Tkachuk on the ice. Tkachuk, obviously someone to hopefully return, but like, you're looking at Matthew Tkachuk as one of those guys that just has that clutch touch. Not to rhyme over here, but you don't need the clutch touch right now. And we saw that when the Florida Panthers finally collected their first Stanley Cup trophy, it was an ugly beginning to the regular season. Bobrovsky was having a terrible performance. We were discounting the Florida Panthers by all means. And then January came around and it was like, wait a minute, this team's doing things. I feel like it's almost going to be a similarity there. You still got Sam Bennett, one of the best of the best. You got Brad Marchand, who's going to play in a larger role. That third line, which really was the ice tilter for this team, can now either be spread out amongst the top 9, or that can become the Florida Panthers' second line. Luostarinen as well as Lundell, especially when Lundell gets fully healthy. So I feel like they've shown time and time again how much depth they have outside of Barkov and Tkachuk. So as long as Bobrovsky stays sharp, I think that they're still going to be fine.
Second game tonight will be an interesting one. It is, we think, the last year of the Letang, Crosby, and Malkin combination in Pittsburgh. They're on the road against the Rangers, and their former coach is behind the bench now in New York. The Rangers were 19-19-1 last year at home. It's a large reason why they made a change behind the bench, because they couldn't win home games. One, Rangers winning tonight. And two, what's your outlook on Pittsburgh going forward with 3 very big names, but not a lot else for the Penguins going forward?
Oh, I guess I'll start with Pittsburgh. That might be an easier sample size at the moment. It's tough, right? Because like, these are legends that we have watched, and you want to see what feels like their final years on like a bigger, more competitive platform, especially for like real hockey heads. Like, you want to be talking about Sidney Crosby, not just because he's going to potentially score a third period goal and they don't get buried in a game. You want to talk about him because he's just a complete menace against other teams, and then they're outscoring and having flashier wins. With that being said, you want to talk about a team that had to go back to, what do they call it? The pillars, the stripping of a house. This is what this Pittsburgh team feels like. They had to strip down to the baseboards here. And even though you have legends that are still going to make things happen in a sense, like, Pittsburgh's identity is still a massive question mark at the moment. And then you're going against your former coach, somebody who's just like, he's got that reputation for re-identifying and re-solidifying teams. And you've got a New York Rangers team where one of their biggest issues was the fact that they weren't properly developing young talent, especially in my personal opinion. And then the leadership out of the Zibanejad and Panarin and some of those guys. JT Miller obviously went in there, lifted this team up immediately, and they cleaned up their back end. You got Fox with Garakov. I think I said his name correctly. They had a really good showing throughout training camp. It's like Garvikov. I'm going to get it. But
I'll take your word for it.
You've got a defensive pairing with Adam Fox, where Fox can get back to his original style of not only being a good defenseman, but of an offensive defenseman and a key piece there. He kind of lost that along the way. So I feel like the Rangers are going to have that level up. You got a big PK guy in Joe Sacco, who's coming from the Boston Bruins, somebody who can help them be stout there also. And they had a hell of a number of shorthanded goals also, which was very irritating. So in terms of Rangers versus Pittsburgh, I feel like it's going to be more of a statement for the Rangers, with Sully behind the bench and them having a team that has more of a prove it, especially after paying Shesterkin as well.
Yeah, I like puck line tonight for the Rangers. I think this is it totals up to 6.5, which makes sense, but I think it could be a 5-1, 4-2 type win tonight for the Rangers. All right, Kasey, before I let you go, I'm not going to hold you to it, but here's the cup list at the moment. Oilers and the Golden Knights are up there. The Hurricanes and the Avalanche come in right behind the Dallas Stars as well. 11-1 for the Florida Panthers. Your Tampa Bay Lightning also 11-1. Is there somebody going into the season that we're not talking about that we should be about a sleeper to potentially hoist the cup?
Oh, you want a sleeper?
Just somebody you think is not getting as much shine as they should be going into the season.
Can you throw that board back up?
Sure, absolutely. There's the board.
Let's see.
25-1 for the Rangers, 22-1 for the Kings.
Yeah, the Kings they broke my heart last year, and I'm not that stupid girl to go back twice. Like, I was screaming from the mountaintops for this team, and then the way that fell apart, well,
I mean, they can't go they can't go 31-6-4 at home again, right? I mean, that's a fluke season to be that good at home, right?
Yeah, it is, because the season before that, they were the road warriors. They were unbeatable on the road for primarily all of the season, and then still flopped in the postseason. So they're just, gosh, I can't trust them.
Yeah.
And that breaks my heart, because they are a fun team to watch. That's for sure. As for an underdog, I can go west for you. Minnesota Wild. I feel like having Tarasenko on your second line is going to be insane. Now you've got Kaprizov, who has to live up to this fat contract, but he's constantly been proving himself. Coming back from injuries and not having any rust on him, like, this is a kid that can constantly produce. And I love their top line, Matt Boldy. I talked about him so much going into Four Nations. I felt like people really started to feel the presence that is Matt Boldy, especially his forechecking, his ability to create plays and opportunities. Now he's doing that with a healthy top line. And then Tarasenko, I feel like, can level things up when it comes to power play opportunities. And then Gustafsson just got his fat payday, and he kept a lot of things low scoring for Minnesota last year. So now completely owning the net, I feel like we're going to get a different temperature out of the Minnesota Wild. Brock Faber, a young defenseman that is supposed to take that next step this year also. So I feel like there's a lot of good things coming out of Minnesota. I keep losing my mind rooting for the Dallas Stars, but I will say,
me too.
Yeah, it's been 4 years of me being like, the Dallas Stars, the Dallas Stars, the Dallas Stars.
I mean, every year I bet it, money, just down the drain every year. I'm like, it's this last year I was all over them. This is their year, Dallas Stars, and then every time it just falls apart.
Yeah, so, like, let's be stupid again, because Mikko Rantanen is going to be there for a full year. But my biggest thing for them is the fact that, like, Ottinger got shaky in the postseason year after year after year. That did not happen this past season. He was spectacular. If he can just copy and paste that to any degree, I feel like maybe and hopefully Dallas can get the deeper run that's at least been expected out of this team, for one. For two, they have so much young talent. And if they get like 30% more out of Matt Duchene, like, especially with the absence of Jamie Benn and stuff, and a full season, hopefully, with Tyler Seguin, because he was out with surgery primarily most of last year, like, the Dallas Stars, hopefully. So I think I have more hope on the West, or more that I can say for West Coast teams making it deep in the postseason than I can for the East. The East is going to be interesting.
Listen, on the way out, I just want to say this publicly to you, because I know there's been some things flying around with you and on the internet and whatnot. Dave, connecting you and me is, and I'm not just saying this because you work at NESN, and obviously I'm from Boston, so I watch NESN all the time, but I would put your hockey knowledge up against anybody I have ever spoken to, interviewed, or had a public-private conversation with. So keep doing what you are doing. You are absolutely crushing it. If anything, this interview should be like, it's an example to anybody that questions. I just threw, without any notes, complete random questions to you for 25 minutes, and you hit it out of the ballpark with every answer. So keep doing what you're doing. If folks want to follow you and watch you this season for the hockey, how can they do so?
Well, you almost got me choked up there. Thank you. And I am very grateful to our amazing, amazing friend, Dave, that did connect us. Yeah, I'm thinking about his tremendously, and I really appreciate you saying that. It's at the Sports Case, Kase, for all things social media. And then, as you mentioned, I co-host the Hockey Hub with Sophia for all Bruins stuff, but we do kind of take a bird's eye view of the league. And then starting back shortly, actually, I hop on CBS Sports as one of their hockey analysts for betting, as well as breaking down games. So it's been a fun ride, and I really do appreciate the love and support, because it's been a crazy adjustment up in the north, but I still love it, and this is still my favorite game.
Keep doing what you're doing. Idiots are idiots. Keep doing what you're doing. It's not even a conversation, but you're extremely talented. Don't ever question yourself in terms of what you're doing. You're amazing. So thank you for coming on. Let's do this again soon, right?
Absolutely. And I promise some F1 stuff next time.
Sounds good. Take care. That's Kasey Hudson. Take care. That's from NESN. Kasey Hudson joining us here in the Bostonian versus the Book. Great to get her on the program from NESN talking hockey. And I'll reference that in bonus time, what I'm talking about with Kasey. Some stuff that happened publicly. I don't want to put it on the Sports Grid side of things, but I'll give you guys some ideas as to what we're talking about, because it got a little ridiculous around with Kasey. Online with some people that were saying some really stupid stuff about her and her abilities, because she knows way more about hockey than I do, way more. Like, listening to her, if you have any questions about her hockey knowledge, sorry, there's something really not right there on this. Did this thing freeze again? Oh, I'm going to be really mad if that froze again. I think that froze. I don't understand why that's happening, but I don't think I can fire stuff. But we can do what happened last night. We can go into it. Unfortunately, I cannot fire on the fun little sweepers, which I don't know why that's happening as much as it's happened, because it's not on my end. It's a StreamYard problem where I can't fire the sweepers. It just freezes. So I've been asking them to figure it out. But let's talk about the Jaguars beating the Chiefs last night on Monday Night Football. Chiefs are now 2-3 on the year. The Jaguars go to 4-1, and there's some real concerns. I think if you are a Chief fan, I mean, Patrick Mahomes said it after the game last night. We've lost too many games already, and at 2-3, this is not where you expect the Chiefs to be. You would not expect them to blow a game last night, because they put it directly into their defense's hands. The Chiefs last year were record-setting for one-score victories. They are now 0-3 this year in one-score games. This team is built to win tight games. They're not going to blow anybody off the field anymore. That is not how this team is built. They have too much money invested in their star players to be able to do that. They gave Chris Jones a massive contract. They gave Patrick Mahomes a massive contract. They have one more year of Travis Kelce on the books. All of these things are now weighing this team down. And if they deal with injuries like the Worthy injury that they suffered through, they don't have the guys or the depth to go out there and overcome what these injuries and what these games are looking like for them. So as a Chief fan, you're concerned, but you should also be really concerned about what is going on with Chris Jones, because I can't play you the highlight, but I can just point out Chris Jones, the highest paid defensive player for the KC Chiefs, who is standing watching Trevor Lawrence fumble and fall over himself on the game-winning touchdown run. From this moment, in watching Chris Jones, he did not move from this position, staring at Trevor Lawrence as he was on the ground. Trevor Lawrence picked himself up and ran to the far pylon where he scored the game-winning touchdown. If Chris Jones tackles Trevor Lawrence, they have no timeouts. The clock most likely runs out on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the game is over. What is Chris Jones doing? He's just standing there. And I know the answer people are saying is like, oh my gosh, look at what's going on here. This is so incredible. This is so amazing. I'm watching all of these, incredible Trevor Lawrence glowing love fest conversations happening. And I'm more interested in talking about what is Chris Jones doing in that moment? Like took the play off is the nice way of saying it. I mean, and look, Ish, people are making this excuse all the time. Chris Jones might have thought the play was over when he fell down. Dude, you're a professional football player. You play to the whistle. The game's on the line. Like, I don't care. You don't get to make that call. Like, you don't get to make the decision as to, well, I thought he was down. You thought he was down. It doesn't matter whether you think he's down or not. He started to run. There was no whistle. The game's on the line. You have to break butt to get to that guy. And he stood there. He stood there and didn't move. Like he was a spectator with the best seat in the house. He's like, oh, pass the popcorn, honey. There goes Trevor. Hey, he's going to score a touchdown. We're going to lose. This is great. What the heck was that? If I'm concerned about anything as a Chief fan, if I'm worried any situation going on with the KC Chiefs, it's not Mahomes, it's not even the offense, to be quite honest, but it is the defense, and it's plays like that. Are we a little bit too happy here? Are we a little bit too comfortable? Do we have the same fire? Do we have the same intensity? Because the Jaguars now are 4-1, and Liam Cohen, I mean, that's a first-year head coach who at 4-1 has a really good start to the season right now on the books. I mean, 4-1 is 4-1. I bet the Chiefs last night when they scored the touchdown to go up by 4. I felt pretty good. I was like, okay, it's Trevor Lawrence. Most likely interception is going to be thrown. They're going to sack him. They're going to force the ball. And then Trevor Lawrence had a hell of a drive. I mean, not that that's like a career defining drive, but that's a really, really impressive drive. So I want to do a little buy or sell here. Okay. 2 teams to buy and 2 teams to sell. Let's start with the buying. We'll go to the selling. With the buying, I am buying Indianapolis on their 4-1 start. They destroyed the Raiders on Sunday. And I know we were off yesterday, so we didn't get a chance to recap everything, but I am buying Indy at 4-1. Daniel Jones is incredibly accurate with the football, in particular at home. The running game with Jonathan Taylor is highly effective and very difficult to stop. The offensive line is very good for Indianapolis. Shane Steichen has been tremendous. Now, late in the year, Shane Steichen's teams have fallen apart. But in September, October, November, Shane Steichen's teams have been very good. So this is not totally out of character to get off to a very good start. But Daniel Jones, I am buying this version of Daniel Jones. And I am Geno Smith, yes, he's a walking interception. He's now thrown 9 interceptions so far in the year. He's leading all throwers. It's remarkable. He keeps on getting picked off left and right. Oh, actually, I think it's up to 11 now, right? Yeah, he's thrown 11 now, I think it is. So through 2 against Indy. It's just a remarkable thing to watch this Indianapolis team at home. And now they get the Cardinals, who had the single worst, more on that coming up here in our news of the industry. The single worst loss in the history of Survivor was the Cardinals against the Titans. So now they go on the road to play Indy. Indy's going to be 5-1 and beyond. I'm buying the start for Indianapolis. I'm buying the start for the Patriots. Call me a homer all you want. I'm buying the 3-2 start. I'm buying Drake May. I'm buying everything that's going on. I even don't understand what the hell's going on with Belichick not allowing UNC to promote Drake May, who is the best quarterback ever to come out of that school, okay? And there's been some okay high draft pick quarterbacks that haven't really panned out. Drake May's panning out, all right? Why in the hell is Belichick that petty? I have no idea, but he's completely pathetic. I am buying the Patriots at 3-2. They play the Saints on the road and the Titans on the road. Patriots should be 5-2, and the schedule gets really easy. Even after the road trips to the Saints, who had their first win against the Giants last week, more on them in a second, and then against the Titans. But they come back home. They have winnable home games. The next 7 games are all winnable. The Patriots could very easily be sitting with a record of like 9-3, 8-4. And if you are a fan of the Bills, do not tell me you are not concerned about what is going on with the Patriots, because you just got beat and you got outplayed by Drake May. The best quarterback on the field on Sunday night was Drake May. Now, again, 1 game, small sample size. Let's see what happens over the course of the season as to where it goes. But right now, when they played head-to-head, the better football team in the East is the Patriots, not the Bills. That Bills defense has a hard time stopping the run. They have a hard time getting after the quarterback. And for the first time in my life, the Patriots have a competent throwing quarterback and running quarterback, right? We all talked about what happened so often with the Brady being slippery in the pocket, right? Every fan of the AFC East is like, it's that meme for Grand Theft Auto, like, blank, here we go again. Like, that's how they're feeling about the Patriots and Drake May. at 3-2. They should be 4-1. I mean, that loss to the Raiders. What the hell was that? That's just yikes. That should not have happened. And frankly, the second loss of the season shouldn't happen either. Patriots, I mean, against the Steelers, they lost 2 home games. Patriots, they should be 5-0. I mean, to be completely frank or being honest as to who the better teams were in both games, the Patriots were the better team against the Steelers. They had 5 turnovers. Like, come on, can't turn the ball over 5 times. And then against the Raiders, their offense looked completely stuck in the mud. Now it's not. Drake May is humming right now. To the sell. Who am I selling? The Giants. Shocker. Giants lost to the Saints and Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler, who was 0-10 in his career as a starting quarterback in the NFL, beat the Giants. Jackson Dart's a one-read quarterback at the moment. He drops back. He's got 1 target. And then if that guy's not open, the ball's coming down and he is running the football. Okay. It is almost every single time that's happening. It's remarkable. So the idea that Jackson Dart is going to resurrect the Giants like everybody thought he was going to after they benched Russell Wilson. No, without Malik Neighbors, this offense is dead. Sorry, gone. Not happening. Bye-bye. See you later. Giants, sell them. Okay. I have under 5.5. I am very confident in the Giants not winning 6 games this season in the NFL, given what they're looking like. And finally, I'm selling the Ravens. That's it. That performance was pathetic. That was horrific on Sunday. And now they have a big choice to make. You can tell me all you want about the injuries and how they have an all-pro roster who is hurt. And that's true. But this team most likely is losing this weekend. They will be 1-5. The Rams probably beat them this weekend. They'll be 1-5, and then they will be going to a bye where they hope to get Lamar Jackson back. 1-5, you don't just throw a switch and all of a sudden become a competent football team when you play in the division that they play in. All right. I know the Joe Flacco news just broke, and I haven't talked about that. I don't think that's that big of a deal, but Dylan Gabriel played well enough to allow the Browns to trade Joe Flacco. Am I right? Did I read this correctly that Joe Flacco got traded to the Bengals? Is that what happened? I think that's right. If that's wrong, correct me, but I think I saw that. I know we were talking to Kasey and talking hockey with Kasey, but I think that's happening. Yes. Thanks, Ish. So that's inside the division. The Browns traded Joe Flacco inside the division. That's interesting. It's not horrible, but that's interesting. Why would you help the Bengals? Because you're helping the Bengals. Because the Bengals need a competent quarterback to throw. And obviously there's weapons all over the place. What they get back? Is it a 6th-round pick? Is that what they got back? Tell me, to a 6th round for a 5th. Flacco and a 6th to the Bengals for a 5th. That franchise is a clown show. What is that? What is that? That's amazing. That's really what the Browns sent Joe Flacco for a 5th-round pick to the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals aren't going to be that big of a threat, but look at the receiving core they've got. I mean, the offensive line's a disaster, so that's a huge problem. But look at that receiving core he's throwing to. Like, that's a huge deal. That's amazing. I mean, okay, fine. I'll give you this. He is toast behind that offensive line. Yes. And the same reason why Joe Flacco gets hurt every year, because the offensive line is garbage and they spend the money on 4 players and nobody else, right? 2 wideouts, a quarterback, and a defensive end. That's where they spent all their money. They have no money for anybody else. But I don't know what Cleveland's doing, though. Why would you even give the Bengals a breath? Why would you give them even a shot by trading him to Joe Flacco? But it's the Ravens are playing in a division that is not going to be easy. The Browns and the Bengals aren't going to lay down for Baltimore. Pittsburgh's not laying down for Baltimore. This is a first place schedule the Ravens have. They go 1-5. See you later. Goodbye. Season over. And what a awful, awful start to the year. The defense has been the biggest question. What happened to the Ravens defense? Not just in the secondary. We all talked about the 1st-round picks. They were in the secondary, like 5 first-round picks in the Baltimore Ravens secondary. The defensive line, the calling card for the Ravens. You could never run on them. You could never. A John Harbaugh coach team, you could never run on the Ravens. All they do is give up huge running lanes, left and right, all over the place. They run the ball. They give up runs. They can't stop anybody. So this Ravens team, goodbye. Season over. One of the worst. I asked on Twitter, Who is a more overrated going into the year, the Ravens or the Texas Longhorns? Because both Texas and Penn State, we didn't even talk about that because we were off yesterday, but Texas and Penn State both losing, and now they're both not ranked. The number 1 and number 2 teams, ranked in the preseason poll, both are not ranked today in college football. It's October 7th. We haven't played that much football. And UCLA beat Penn State on Saturday as 24.5-point favorites. How did that happen? How did that happen? I have no idea. So crazy stuff. If you guys are watching live on X or Twitter or listening on the audio podcast, don't move. We have a lot more to come. But if you're watching on the replay on Sports Grid, thank you for being here. You guys are great. We love being on Sports Grid. I can't play the bonus time stinger because the thing froze again. So I can just make the little sounders, but we are back tomorrow. Same place, same time. Appreciate you guys watching. For the rest of you guys, don't move. More to come here during bonus time. Okay. Yeah, right. I mean, we'll talk about the Penn State game tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow's a good day college football. We'll talk about the Penn State and the whole story around it is amazing. Like I'll do the opening line tomorrow on it. I planned on doing that, but then baseball got in the way, and then it was too good talking about baseball. So I had to talk about what happened with that. All right, let's talk some baseball tonight. Toronto at New York, lines 160, totals up to 8 here for the Blue Jays and the Yankees. Look, I think the Yankees do win tonight. I find it hard to believe the Yankees get swept, but they're not winning the series. Like I don't think the Yankees are coming back, in particular the way that they were smoked in game 1 and game 2. It was just an absolute butt kicking in both games. I think once you get past Carlos Rondon, who probably goes 5 innings tonight, I think you get into that bullpen for the Yankees, the same bullpen that the Blue Jays destroyed in Toronto. And I've been on the bandwagon here talking about the Blue Jays on the road this season versus at home this season. They're totally different teams, both offensively and pitching wise, in Toronto versus on the road. So I won't be stunned if the Yankees do wind up winning this. Brendan, we don't care about the Yankees in New York sucking. This is a good thing on this show. On this show, when the New York teams suck, we celebrate it. It's a good thing. It's been fun. Yankees are done, according to WV Punch Drunk. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think there's going to be maybe a win tonight for the Yankees. I'm not jumping on a sweep, but I do think Toronto is going to advance to the American League Championship Series. The second game tonight is going to be Seattle, excuse me, up against Detroit. Total 7.5 in the game tonight. This is a watch game for me. This is a game where I lean towards Detroit to win this, but I'm not jumping up and down. Logan Gilbert against Jack Flaherty. If I had to bet this, I would take Seattle because I don't like Jack Flaherty, but the offense for the Tigers has surprised me. And the Tigers winning game 1, losing game 2. They're live here. This is a home dog in game 3 of a playoff series. This is interesting. I'm surprised at this number, 135. That'll be close to a pick 'em. So if I had to bet it, I would take most likely Seattle because of Flaherty. I don't like Flaherty, but let's see what happens. Let's talk hockey. Opening night tonight. Florida is minus 275 tonight against Chicago. Total is 5.5. I don't think this game is bettable, to be frank. The fact that the Tkachuk and Barkov injuries are part of the Florida Panthers dropping a banner situation. The Blackhawks aren't good. Florida's got Brad Marchand, as we talked to Kasey about. I think Florida rather wins the game. Don't think Chicago wins the game, but I think the under might be the best play at 5.5. I don't know how high scoring this game is going to be here tonight. It would be surprising to see Florida lose, but without Tkachuk, without Barkov, I don't know. I want to watch and see what happens in net. I want to see what happens defensively. This is a good game just to watch and learn. It's a 5:00 start Eastern time. It's an early start for that because it's a triple header. Pittsburgh and New York, with the Rangers being big favorites at home at minus 225. Everyone's betting the over. Why? Tristan Jarry. Tristan Jarry's in net tonight for Pittsburgh. This is a disaster. I don't know how you go ahead and Guy keeps on getting a paycheck. How? I don't know, but we keep on talking about this, that Jari stinks. And then at some point during the season, Jari gets hot. And Jari all of a sudden plays really, really well. And we're like, whoa, Tristan Jari's playing great in net. This is incredible, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, it's fun to watch, obviously, because it's Crosby, it's Malkin, it's Letang, it's the 20-year, I'm 48 years old. You got to go back to my, I'm in my 20s when this whole thing started with these two superstars. So, it's the other kid starting in that tonight. Oh, it's even, it might be even worse. I don't know about that. Is that confirmed? Line of, which I'm going to call you that now. Is that confirmed? We're positive, Train? We're positive that it's there? No, it doesn't. I'm not betting the total, though, but we're positive that that's the change that they're making. That's interesting. Because that's, hey, that's why betting overnight's interesting. It can be a little bit tricky, but it doesn't change my bet. I'll explain to you guys how I'm betting that game here in just 1 second. Oh, I can't fire the just the picks thing either. That's annoying. So let's do just the picks. We'll go right into it. Just the picks for this. I'm playing puck line. Rangers puck line. Plus 120 is what I got last night. I think the over is decent with that, but yes, backup is not that good. And frankly, I think the Rangers are going to be hopping mad because I would expect some like crazy speech from Mike Sullivan tonight up against Pittsburgh. I mean, they have the reason why Mike Sullivan is the coach of the Rangers. It could be really tied to the fact that the Rangers were so bad at home last year. They were a great road team. They sucked at home. And now it's the Penguins on opening night, chance to establish, some new culture in the city. And say, this is not your typical Rangers team for MSG. We're going to protect MSG. We've got your Sturkin. Give me the Rangers on the puck line. I think the Rangers laying 1.5 goals here. I don't like what's going on with Pittsburgh at all. I like the over with the Kings and the Avs. I don't know what to make of LA. As we talked about with Kasey Hudson earlier in the show, you've got a 31-6-4 mark last year for the Kings at home. Are they going to be nearly as good? I don't know. But the Avs can score. You've got, and again, the goaltending might change again. Let me just double check on goalies here for tonight because let's see where we're at with this from a goaltender perspective. Because do we know who's in net tonight? It was supposed to be Wedgwood up against Kemper. At least that's what I bet last night. So I think that's still it's still kind of early here on the West Coast, but that's right now what I'm seeing for that. I like the over. Give me the over for the Avs and the Kings tonight, over 5.5. And you're absolutely right. Dave loved hockey. 100%. 100%, Dave. Especially Crosby. Especially this version of the Penguins. Dave loves hockey. Our prop bet of the day. I'm going to fade Flaherty. I think Flaherty gives up over 3.5 hits today for the Detroit Tigers. On the road, he gave up his last road start. He only gave up 3 to Cleveland, but in the first game against Cleveland, he gave up 5. On the road against Kansas City back in the regular season, he gave up 6. Against the White Sox, he gave up 8. I don't think Flaherty is going to get it done here tonight. I don't like him against this Seattle lineup. I know it's a home game for him, and every pitcher pitches better at home, in particular in the playoffs, but I think he gets hit today. Flaherty over 3.5 hits today is minus 130. Again, if I'm going to bet it, I'm leaning towards Seattle, and thus I'm going to go ahead and put that there with Flaherty with Seattle money line, but also fade on the starting pitcher. Okay, thank you, Butchie. Appreciate it, man. Wedgwood and Kemper confirmed for that one. I like the over. So we're going over 5.5 for the Kings and the Avs. Late night spot here tonight coming up here with that. And finally, for news of the industry, which again, I'm sorry I can't play the stinger because we're locked out of our stingers at the moment. Let's talk about the carnage in Circa Survivor. I mean, my God, this is crazy. This is wild. Cardinals, Bills, Seahawks, Chargers, Eagles, Chiefs, Giants, Browns, Jets, Raiders, all out. There were 8,875 entries alive going into last week. And I didn't mention the Rams. Your top 2, Rams, 3,600 plus, Cardinals, 3,152 out. We are down to about 3,500 entries left here in week number 5. According to Circa Sports, about 60% of all remaining entries were knocked out in week 5. The carnage week happened because week 1 and week 2 were pretty calm. Week 3 wasn't great. Week 5 was an absolute bloodbath. The Cardinals lost. I got knocked out of a media poll. I'm not in the Circus Survivor, but I was asked to be part of a media Survivor poll. And I got knocked out with the Cardinals losing to the Titans. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how in the world the Cardinals lost that game. I just cannot fathom. If you score that touchdown, it's 28-6. It's 28-6. I mean, the game's over. 28-6. You are not losing that game. It's not going to happen from a Cardinal perspective. And I know Gannon went and apologized to Mercado for what he did on the sidelines by ripping him. I don't know. Jonathan Gannon, I'm 48 years old. Okay. I'm 48 years old. I remember a time when coaches were allowed to do that to players. And the reason is that player will never do that ever again. And you can say, well, Matt, DeMarcado would never do that anyway because of the public scrutiny and the number of tweets the guy received and DM death threats and public humiliation by the networks and everything else. That's fine. But in that moment, you say it's a coaching moment. This is professional football. In professional football, coaches are fired for wins and losses. And one loss can get you fired. You miss the playoffs, you get fired. You don't have control of your locker room, you get fired. I don't understand how in the world that Jonathan Gannon this morning has to go public and say, I issued an apology to one of my players for what I said to him on the sidelines. I woke up this morning and I didn't feel great about it, honestly. Gannon said, I just told the team. I kind of let the moment of what happened get the better of me there. Obviously, I try to be emotionally stable and calm because my job is to solve problems during a game and lead the charge on that. So it's not really who I am, who I want to be. I told the guys that. So it's a mistake by me. And just like everybody in there, everybody makes some type of mistake yesterday, which accumulates to why we didn't win the game and why we can't let it happen again moving forward. The game's over. DeMarcado, the game's over. 28-6, game's over. Drops the football before he gets to the goal line. Like, it's the basic of basic things. Like, hold on to the football until you score. And we've seen it now multiple times in the NFL. Coaches have been preaching it. These guys have been playing football for a very long time. They play a kid's game to get paid millions. So this is ridiculous to me. Okay. I'm 48 years old. Maybe I'm too old. Okay. Maybe I'm showing my age, but I had no problem with what Jonathan Gannon did. None. I don't think an apology was necessary, to be quite honest. Getting in a player's face. I never liked it when coaches put their physical hands on players. I never liked that. When you grab a face mask or you pull a player, I don't like any of that stuff. That's not needed, okay? You don't need to touch a player. You don't need to physically put your hands on somebody. He didn't do that. He ripped him verbally for what he did. And he was caught on camera doing it, and thus that's why he apologized, to be quite honest. If nobody sees Jonathan Gannon yelling at DeMarcado, there is no conversation. There is no conversation. Zero. So he had to apologize because he got caught. So I don't think he really meant it. But I think Jonathan Gannon in that moment showed the reaction of what most coaches, most fans felt. How in the hell did you do that? What the hell was going through your mind? That's unacceptable. So I don't like it. I don't think that apology was necessary. But again, this is where we're at on that. But I mean, just carnage, absolute carnage. Rams and the Cardinals knocking out. There were 8,875. There were 6,700. So we're down to like 2,000. I think I said 4. So I'm wrong. And they were down to like 2,000 entries left here through week 5. Complete bloodbath. Unbelievable there in the survivor pool here. So obviously we'll watch that. And this weekend's tough, by the way. Only 2 teams with byes. We have a Thursday game, an international game, and 2 Monday Night Football games coming up here this week for Survivor. Tricky week in Survivor. Last week was tricky. This week, definitely do that. Kasey, he put his hands on him. Are you sure? Not the video I saw. I didn't see him put his hand. I saw him try to get in the guy's face. I saw his whole thing fly, his headset fly. I don't think he put his hands on him. I might be wrong about that, but video that I saw, I didn't see him put his hands on him, on DeMarcado. If he did, then fine. Apologies necessary. Shouldn't. I don't think that's appropriate. Coaches should not. I don't think coaches should put their hands on the players, but I don't think he did that. So, yeah, it's a tough week, TK. TJK. This is gonna be a tough week. Personally, I think you should 100%. If you're looking at survivor pools, if you have Indy available, take Indy. Just take Indy. Yeah, I mean, 100% take Indy. I don't think the Colts. Sorry, I think the Titans are. Let me hold on. Make sure I'm remembering the schedule here properly, because at first glance, I think the Colts are the best play of the week for. Yeah, Colts against Vegas. No, that was last week. Sorry, no. Vegas killed this week. I think it's Arizona. Yeah, take, especially with the whole Jonathan Gannon thing, the apology and everything else. I like the Colts against the Cardinals for survivor. If you have the Packers available, I think the Packers against the Bengals is obviously a very good play. It's a hard week. Philadelphia against the Giants. I mean, maybe this is the time to take the Giants. But the problem with taking the Eagles against the Giants is 1, Thursday night, 2, it's a divisional game, 3, it's a road favorite. So by most of my survivor rules, that's a crossout game. Don't take it. But it's the Giants. It's the Eagles. Eagles just lost. And the Giants can't stop the run. The Giants can't stop anything. So if you have the Eagles, it might be the time to take the Eagles. It is a Titans are live. Lay the 4.5, Tyrone, right now. Vegas 4.5. No, they're not. Sorry. No, they're not. This is a great spot for the Vegas for the Vegas Raiders. Great spot for the Raiders. In fact, I would even say maybe Survivor. Go ahead and take the Survivor play on that with the Raiders. Are the Giants worse than Tennessee? No. But they're close. They're close. Giants are very close to being the worst team in the football in football. Very, 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 very close. I don't know. The Raiders are bad. I'm going to give that to you. But Pete Carroll, I'm going to believe in Pete Carroll to be able to get his team right to beat an awful football team this weekend. And there will be no Titans fans here. There are no Titan fans. So I highly doubt people in Nashville are flying to Vegas to watch this game, to be ecstatic about watching it. And it's back-to-back road trips. You know, one of the time and true ways of betting the NFL is teams on back-to-back road trips, in particular, back-to-back road trips to the Pacific time zone. You go to Arizona, they're coming to Vegas. And frankly, I don't trust the Callahans to keep the Titan players off the strip. The Vegas flu, because you see some guys, you know, little sluggish coming up here with the Vegas flu. I don't trust the Callahans to keep their players at all off the strip coming to Vegas. So I think there could be some trouble coming in here for the Titans coming to Vegas. Favorite thing about today, and again, I'm sorry I can't fire on the fun things, but I do want to highlight this because Kasey, I want to highlight something that Kasey Hudson has gone through, and having her on the show was awesome. She crushed it. If you haven't watched the interview, go watch it. But this is a post that she put up after somebody wrote to her on NESN, a black female discussing ice hockey. For fuck's sake, who makes these decisions? Okay. I don't need to read all of this, but Kasey took it to heart that this was written to her about her. And she said, for anyone that questions if I truly love the game of hockey, I hope this answers some of the questions. You have to really love something to endure constant sexism and racism. My work is always measured by my gender and color of my skin. So no, I didn't wake up one morning and think I'll cover hockey for the sake of it. I fell in love with the game that brought me comfort through my parents' divorce and the loss of my best friend, which I can relate to. I found hockey relatable in the sense that the players have to be so agile and flexible in chasing their dreams, moving a lot, living with other families, making life decisions at young ages. These are all the things I experienced as a military brat and respect the mental muscle it takes to endure such unknown paths. This is why I have endless gratitude to an organization like the Tampa Bay Lightning with a staff and locker room that allowed a space to learn and grow in hockey, ask questions, fail, and learn more. If anyone has any questions about Kasey Hudson's ability to be a top-notch hockey commentator, just go listen to the last 20-minute interview. Off the cuff, no prepared questions. Do you know, and there are women who work in media who are spoon-fed information with big jobs, big jobs, women that have been given scripts as to what to say. Women who are on TV talking about sports, who have no independent thought, who have no ability. There are that. They do exist, and they bring down all women in sports when that happens. But they're not there for their brains. They're there for what they look like. And TV is a visual medium, so I understand it completely. I have fed into that. I have fed into the sexism and the the overall male gaze of females on TV. I used to do a thing in Huntsville when I was down there. I used to do a contest for the hottest female on TV contest. We gave them flowers and a spa day. We had the audience vote who was the hottest female on television. And we went ahead and, so like I've been a part of the sexism on television. I've been a part of it. And I've been part of the problem, me personally. I take responsibility for that. As a father, I did it when I was in my early 20s. But, that's just what we did back then in the 2000s. 20 years ago in talk radio, it was in male audience. The way we justified it was basically that we are men. And as men, talking to other men, we always talk about women. So why don't we do it on the radio? Let's do this. My audience didn't mind. My bosses didn't mind. The sponsors who sponsored the segment didn't mind. Okay? My girlfriend at the time won it one year, and everybody thought I fixed it, and I didn't. I was like, I swear to God, I didn't fix it. That was the audience. They voted that. So, like, I have a sensitivity to topics like this. But when it comes to race in hockey, hold on a second. Like, give me a break. Now we're going down a hole. And look at Maine is not that different than Alabama. Okay. Vermont is the whitest state in America. All right. We think because we're from New England that, like, Boston has a history of racism, 100%. I don't like it when the city gets painted as racist. The entire city gets painted as racist. That bothers me because the city of Boston generally is not, okay? There are major pockets, like in every other major city, there are pockets of racism. I will listen, though, if you tell me that New England is racist, because it is. The entire, you take every state, all 6 states, if we're talking about that, okay, I'll listen to you there. I will, because I've lived in the South. I've lived in Alabama. I've lived in Virginia. I've also lived in Massachusetts. I've also lived in New Hampshire. And I can tell you that in certain parts, the weather's different, but the methodology's not. The education's not. The outsider mentality, not that different. You're not like us. You don't look like us. So you can't talk about the things we talk about. You want to talk about ice hockey? You're an African American. You're going to tell me, a guy in Maine, up there, I've raised my boys. We play hockey up here, real hockey. Canada, we play real hockey, right? So she knows more than you. You're going to take offense to that. You're going to struggle with that. That's a double whammy, right? It's tough enough if a female knows more about hockey than you do. That's going to be hard to handle. You're not going to take that very well. And now, not only is it a female, but it's an African American female. Uh-oh. Now we're into a totally different story. Okay. Now we're on 2 different sides. So I just wanted to highlight that because I think she is incredible. I think Kasey Hudson is an unbelievable asset for NESN. And I thought, when she worked for Sports Grid, I'm sorry that didn't work out because I thought Sports Grid had uncovered something that they could really push. And luckily she wound up at one of the best places to work for sports, for the sport she loves. And that's hockey, because that's real hockey. NESN talks about hockey really. There's very few places in America that actually really talk hockey. And that's unfortunate, but it's because it's the Bruins, and it's an original 6 city, and there are 6 states that all love different levels of hockey. College hockey, Penn State, by the way, is pretty damn good. You've got college, you've got mites, high school, travel, you've got minors, you've got a ton of hockey all throughout New England. It's a passionate region for the sport. So for Kasey to go up there and work for NESN, perfect. Absolutely perfect hire for that to happen. But man alive. I don't know what Eric King, I don't know what you're doing. You're spamming the chat for February 3rd, 1959, American rock and roll musicians Buddy Holly. What are we doing? Yes. And Addison, for you, she can talk F1, which is pretty damn cool. On that note, I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation with Kasey, and I hope she comes back and does this show consistently because I love talking hockey with her. We are back tomorrow for a Wednesday. It might be Adam Bjorn, but he might be traveling. Got to check on Adam to see what happens for tomorrow or not. Might be Wednesday, might be Thursday for us with a Bet Chris Arizona Thursday or Bet Chris Arizona Wednesday, depending on what Adam's travel schedule is like and what country will he be in. Malta or somewhere else in the world. Who knows? We'll talk to him coming up tomorrow about Thursday night Eagles on the road against the Giants. Big game on Thursday night football. Enjoy the hockey. We'll recap it all tomorrow and bet more hockey tomorrow as well for a Wednesday's Bostonian versus the Book.